Okay, deep bow to everyone who is here. I am Bhante Varrapanyo, and we can say that this is a happening in the tradition of the Monk Life Meditation community, online meditation community. And today we're going to start with a meditative period, reflective period, and then we'll go into some teachings about the topic of impermanence, which is a very foundational philosophical and experiential principle in Buddhism. One of the things that is I'm inspired about right now is that there are actually a lot of different ways that we can practice meditation. There are a lot of different ways that we can approach Buddhism and spiritual life. And I think that in the modern era of so much accessibility, so many different resources and groups and teachers that we have access to, it's important that we don't limit ourselves. Getting stuck in this one particular right way of meditation or this best way of meditation, that we have to do it this way or that way, but we don't have to do it anyway, and that's freedom and that's joy. So we're going to start today by listening to two songs from a dear brother of mine named Brother Peace, who lives at Deer Park Monastery, and I've been lucky enough to spend time with him and hear his songs, his Buddhist songs, and so I encourage everyone to be comfortable, and we will listen together to this Buddhist musical expression and really enjoy together, okay? Because the teachings in it are also very deep. So let's start with that. And this is a song entitled "It Won't Always Be This Way," and Brother Peace wrote this song in a time when both of his parents took their own life within a short amount of time between each other, and he was living at the monastery at this time, and it inspired him to write this song. So let's all listen to it together and enjoy.
This way, will you live, dear, another day, and give yourself one more honest chance? Life isn't stone, it's a flowing dance, and seasons change. Struggling to find meaning in this world, you're not alone, dear. Let's watch miracles unfurl, shifting sunsets, golden mountain light, pools of water, iced from winter nights, and all is blooming. It won't be this way. It won't always be this way. Everything that is must come to end. So enjoy now this perfect day. Things are changing and your broken heart will mend. If you need me, I'm right here inside of you. You can find me looking deeply at the moon, feeling in breath, filling belly up, healing out breath. Let life fill your cup, enjoy this moment. It won't always be this way. No, it won't always be this way. You are enough, just as you are, no matter what. Don't think that you can't heal those scars. You are a wave, you are so brave, you are so free. You are an ocean, you are a mountain, just believe. And you wanna be humble, you're going to travel far, but be noble. Remember that you are made of stars. You are your ancestors' dreams. You are much more than you seem. Take it from me. Everything that you ever wanted to be, you already are. Learn to see. So don't give up. This family needs the light you bring. Fill your cup. Open your mouth and let your true voice out and sing. You have wisdom, and you have gifts from who knows where. And you have kindness, and you have love. Share.
Okay, thank you everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed that, and this is really a wonderful way to practice deep listening. And it's very essential for meditation practice that we know how to listen very deeply. And that we don't set up some kind of expectation for ourselves about what meditation is or what it's supposed to be, but it's really just a way of deep listening and being present with what's there, and then bringing up these qualities, these energies of mind of to love, to forgive, and to recognize your own innate freedom. One of the strongest themes in this song is that everything changes, and that means that anything that comes up that can be grasped on or stuck on is temporary. So it's freeing. Whether it's the good things or the bad things, they are temporary, and it is freeing. And that along the way, it's not helpful to berate yourself. It's not helpful to criticize yourself. It's not helpful to, set up this mindset that you're not good enough or that you're not deserving of this complete love and total love, because you already are. And that's what we offer to ourselves, and that's what we give to ourselves. Even people who are very lost, we want to share that to them, but we're practitioners, we're on the path, we're doing our best, we're showing up right now, and that is enough. That is more than enough. And we should give a lot of love to ourselves in our way and in our life, as flawed as we are, as conflicted as we may be, as skillful we may be at breaking our own heart. We're even more skillful in repairing it and opening that heart now. So there's a lot of freedom. We just need to remember that. And it's not that we're going to fix ourselves or change ourselves or become this other person, but we are going to realize who we already are, and that we don't lose ourselves in those coping mechanisms, or even just like getting unnecessary difficulty for ourselves, because we would just remember more often who we already are. That's the power of forgiveness and the power of repentance, is that we are already free. We just have to remember that freedom. We are already forgiven. We just have to remember that forgiveness. And it takes time, but it's already here. So you can enjoy it, and you can feel safe in the truth of that. So we'll go ahead and start with our lecture or our teachings today, continuing from the book Cloud and Water by Master Sun Yun. And we'll start first with the verse, and then we'll move into the kind of commentary and discussion. The mountains and rivers will one day cease to exist. Form is ever changing, dependent on conditionality. The lush mountains and the bubbling streams can exist together through myriad conditions. The worldly life, suspicion, and jealousy will always keep people from living in harmony. One more time. The mountains and rivers will one day cease to exist. Form is ever changing, dependent upon conditionality. The lush mountains and the bubbling streams can exist together through myriad conditions. The worldly life, suspicion, and jealousy will always keep people from living in harmony. Although the world is impermanent and ever-changing, the law of cause and effect never changes. When the mountains and rivers will one day cease to exist, they do not disappear into nothingness. There is still the essence of mountains and rivers. Emptiness is a deep Buddhist concept that can be quite difficult to grasp. It is a wondrous having for all things. There must be emptiness before we can have. Emptiness is potential. Take, for example, a house must be empty before we can put furniture in it. The cup has to be empty before we can pour water into it. A bag has to be empty before it can hold things. Even our ears, mouths, noses, pores, and our internal organs have to be empty before life can exist. Do you think we can live if our eyes, ears, noses, and mouths are all stuffed up? So I want to bring a bit of a point here to the beginning portion. Although the world is impermanent and ever-changing, the law of cause and effect never changes. And this cause and effect is on one hand like very, very simplistic, but it also is total profundity, just total depth and completeness, right? So that the mountains and rivers are living expressions of cause and effect. The body, the way it is right now, is an expression of cause and effect. And it's also working in our mind in a very, very subtle, continuously subtle, and affecting us level all the time, so that even though it's very difficult for us to get a hold of this and kind of watch it, the mental actions, the physical actions, the verbal actions that we are taking are constantly creating the state that we find ourselves to be in, and also the environment on the most subtle levels. So although the world is impermanent, although the state of minds that you go through are impermanent, although your body is impermanent, although the room that you're in is impermanent, and is ever changing, constantly, always changing, we can't get a grasp on it, right? And it's like that insight about waking up and being tired. How can it happen so many times that we wake up and we're tired and we're just like, this is not my day. I'm sure of it. You know, this is just not that day for joy and freedom or whatever. And, you know, I'm sick or I'm tired or the world's like this, whatever. And yet, when we do get up, when we do have our cup of coffee or cup of tea, whatever it is, or we do some yoga, we do some stretching, we go for a walk, how does it open up? How does everything become bright and clear and we're aware and we're awake and we can make all these choices, right? So this world and these experiences we're having are impermanent and ever changing all the time. So if we can recognize that more often, then we won't be controlled by or intimidated by or burdened by the world. We'll just be able to use it because we see through it. The law of cause and effect never changes. When the mountains and rivers will one day cease to exist, they do not disappear into nothingness. there is still the essence of mountains and rivers. So what is the essence of mountains and rivers? It is space. It is emptiness. It's like, what is the essence of a cup? It's the space. What is the essence of a home? It's the space. What is the essence of our body and mind? Actually, really, even though we don't notice it, and some people notice it consistently, very deeply, and some people kind of just, they don't see it, even though it's right there, even though it's their nature. But the essence is this space, boundlessness, spaciousness, unbinding nature, or unbound nature. So when, and this point that like mountains and rivers are real and profound and like solid, and talk about real, talk about solid, talk about stable. Mountains and rivers, the Mother Ganga, right? Or the Nile River, all these different things, right? So the mountains and rivers will one day cease to exist. This planet Earth too. This body will one day cease to exist. But they do not disappear into nothingness. There is still the essence of mountains and rivers. Emptiness is a deep Buddhist concept that can be quite difficult to grasp. It is a wondrous having. For all things there must be emptiness before we can have. So this kind of potential, right? And we can see it, we can experience it, right? So what is the essence of this cup? The space within it, right? So we can feel that, we can see that, we can experience that. But for space to be the essence of the cup, formlessness to be the essence of form, it's difficult to understand that, even though it's right in front of us. Right? Impermanence is life. Even though that's right in front of us, we know that even on a scientific or a cellular level, right? Cells are coming into being and going out of being all the time. But it's difficult to grasp. So for all things, there must be emptiness before we can have. Emptiness is potential. Take, for example, a house. It must be empty before we can move into it. The cup has to be empty before we can pour water into it. A bag has to be empty before it can hold things. Even our ears, mouths, noses, pores, and our internal organs have to be empty before life can exist. Do you think we can live if our eyes, ears, noses, and mouths are all stuffed up? That is why we say emptiness does exist. And this does not mean nothingness. It is because space is empty that we can have varying landscape. Some people do not understand the concept of emptiness. They think that emptiness is the opposite of substance. They think that substance cannot be empty, and emptiness cannot have any substance. As it turns out, emptiness and substance are opposite sides of the same coin. In the Heart Sutra, it is said that form does not differ from emptiness, and emptiness does not differ from form. Form is physical, while emptiness is mental. It is when we combine the physical form and the mental emptiness that all the different things in the universe arise. That is why we say, form is ever changing, dependent upon conditionality. Emptiness is the true nature, the essence of all things, regardless of the form it takes. Right? So form is physical. Where is the body? It's right here. Right? You can grab your arm, you can poke your eye, right? The body's right here. But emptiness is mental, so where is the mind? Where is the space in the cup? Well, what is a cup without the space in it? Right? Is space something? Is the space in a cup something? it is precisely not something, which is why a cup exists. So form is physical, and emptiness is more like mental. It is when we combine form and emptiness, when we combine the physical with the mental or space, that all the different things in the universe arise. So what is a mountain without the space in which a mountain exists? What is a cup without the space within it? What is your body without impermanence? It's nothing. It cannot. Impermanence is life. Form is ever changing, dependent upon conditionality. And conditionality is a kind of form of emptiness, or a form that is a principle of emptiness. Emptiness is the true nature, the essence of all things, regardless of the form it takes. The lush mountains, and it's kind of like regardless of what comes up, mentally, physically, psychologically, emotionally, and also mountains and rivers and nations and cultures and all these things, regardless of what comes up, this form or this condition that comes up is ever changing, dependent upon conditionality. But the true nature is emptiness, the essence of all things, just like the essence of all things is in their impermanence, their conditionality, regardless of what that form is, whether it's right, wrong, communist, Democrat, Republican, Buddhist, Christian, etc. The lush mountains and the bubbling streams can exist together through myriad conditions. So natural interplay of myriad conditions. That's why the lush mountains and the bubbling streams can exist together through myriad conditions. In worldly life, suspicion and jealousy. In worldly life, suspicion and jealousy will always keep people from living in harmony. We have to understand that it is from emptiness that form exists. It is because of emptiness and the right conditions that the lush mountains and the bubbling streams can exist. So we have to understand that it is from emptiness, it is from spaciousness, it is from our Buddha nature that difficulties exist, mental formations exist, that pleasures, that the good side of us, the bad side of us exists. It's coming up from space, just like how a mountain exists, or how a stream exists, or how a natural environment exists. It exists because the space allows it to. It arises from that spaciousness, and it returns to that spaciousness. And its nature is never separate from that spaciousness. And this means that all kind of sickness, all kind of sufferings can be healed and be freed from and be ended realistically. So we have to understand that it is from emptiness that form exists, whatever form it may be. It is because of emptiness and the right conditions that the lush mountains and the bubbling streams can exist. When we deal with people, if we are suspicious and jealous, it is hard for others to accept us. We need to let go and cast off our doubts and envy. We should let our horizons expand and learn to be forgiving. If we are compassionate, we can be at ease and enjoy our life in this world, always. It doesn't say, if you do this, if you do that, watch out for this, watch out for that, because then you'll be in this, you'll go to hell if you do this or whatever. It's not saying that, right? saying we have to understand that it is from emptiness that forms exist. It is from space that this body exists. It is from the openness, the freedom, the brightness of the mind that is free of everything that experiences, mental experiences exist. That's where it's from. It's from freedom. Our difficulties arise from our freedom. It is because of emptiness and the right conditions that the lush mountains and the bubbling streams can exist, right? So also for our joy, maybe we're chasing after being enlightened, or we're chasing after having this, profound, joyful, wonderful, and, bubbling spring mountain life, right? I mean, we all want that to some degree, but also it is because of emptiness and the right conditions, not because of we want it, we desire it, we control it. It's because of conditions that come about that joy and happiness and peace and wholesome communities can exist. This is also because of emptiness and certain conditions coming together. When we deal with people, if we are suspicious and jealous, and I'll just say, if we don't have a relationship with generosity, we will be kind of constricted. Who's going to take our things, right? Who's going to take what's mine? And it will be very difficult to not be suspicious and doubt about people, because we're holding on to things. We're trying to keep things for ourselves. And of course, we all have precious things that we don't want to lose and that we want to protect. But if that's all we really have a power with is that sense and that feeling, then we're always going to be suspicious and doubtful about people, and it's going to be very difficult to have a relationship with them where they can accept us, right? So when we deal with people, if we are suspicious and jealous, if we are skeptical and we overly prioritize our view about it, and then their way of being, we kind of say, well, that should be my way of being, not theirs, because it's this is the temple where I live, or whatever, because I'm a monk, because this is my house, because this is my car, what have you. So when we deal with people, if we are suspicious and jealous, it is hard for others to accept us. And we need to learn how to be in a way where others accept us. Because unless others accept us, we cannot help them. And we cannot learn from them. So we're learning, we're developing this way of being where everyone can accept us if we have the good conditions to have a direct experience with them, We need to let go and cast off our doubts and envy. We should and I'll just say, because we've talked about this quite a bit in our community, about this great doubt, which is more like a wonder. It's like a fire of curiosity. It's a fire of exploration and looking deeply. But here it's talking about we need to let go and cast off our doubts. The doubts about the path, the doubts about freedom, the doubts about loving people and loving ourselves, and growing and learning to cooperate with people, even if it means that we lose some things that are, we think are very important to us at that time. Because, a lot of times something's very important to us, but it's just for 5 minutes, It's just we were so angry, and then we got into this situation, and, we created all this drama for ourselves. But then 10 minutes later, we're not even upset about that. It's not even important to us anymore. So we need to let go and cast off our doubts and our envy. And that's really about not respecting the individuation of situations as they are according to causes and conditions, that it's not about the ego of someone, it's not about a particular person and this like narrative about that. It's a bubbling stream and it's mountains, it's conditions coming together, right? And so we don't grab onto that person as being holier than thou. We don't grab onto that mountain as being like the ultimate Buddha mountain or something, but rather it's causes and conditions coming together. So we need to let go and cast off, give away, give out, put down, share out in a certain way our doubts and our envy. We should really, and this is something I want to emphasize, because this is something I try to share with young people a lot, who are maybe stuck in a very narrow way of living their life, and I think this is so important also for us, and that we constantly open up to that. We constantly, even though our lives become richer and more expansive and we have all these different experiences and we are open, but we should let our horizons expand and learn to be forgiving. If we are compassionate, we can be at ease and enjoy our life in this world. Okay, thank you. Let's open it up for some questions and sharing experience and things like that about this writing. And so when we have an experience like this, and when we spend time in that state of deep listening, right, the meditation is natural. And we really learn how to allow. We're not meditating, we're just allowing, and allow the body to relax, allow the mind to relax, allow that listening from the heart to just be there. Go ahead, Ariana. You can unmute your mic.
Hello. Am my voice clear? Okay. In Buddhist teaching, I learned that there are three main Buddhist beliefs. Everything in life is always changing. So that's why possessing things or persons doesn't make you happy. Me and you only a collection of changing characteristics or attributes. In my own experience, I determined to live a holy life, but through direct experience, I always change my reactions based on the current situation. For example, I will not tell what I really feel about someone because I want to be polite and to maintain harmony. If I tell lies, it's not good, right? But I do that for good intentions. Please help me to understand more. Will it worsen my karma? That's all.
Okay. Um, yeah, so a really powerful part of the Buddhist practice is that we can de emphasize to a certain degree what we say. So we learn to focus more on what our intention is. And if we want to practice right speech, we should remain silent more often. Because that feeling like I have something to say, I have a perception, I have a view, well, join the club. We talked yesterday about people who are have reason, people who have kind of reasonable minds. They've got a lot to say. And people who are not reasonable, people who do not have reasonable minds, have even more to say, endlessly, right? So learning how to be silent and learning how to share our heart and our body and our mind and our listening, our presence, is actually a lot more valuable. And sometimes if we can bring this sense of doubt or this sense of question or this sense of exploration to our life and to our heart and to our mind, then when people come up to us and say, maybe recently I've been doing some interfaith work, working with some young people that are involved in Christianity. And so, they say, well, do you believe in God? Do you reject the Bible? Do you, what are you thinking about God? And I can say to them, no, I don't reject the Bible. And I'm exploring what God is. I don't really know what that means, and that's a really important question to me, especially because I know that a lot of people are concerned with God, this notion and this sense. And because we have so much access to resources, I'm, still working out my practice and my path. I'm not as inspired to kind of use that word or emphasize that word. But I can bring up that question even in a very sensitive situation like that. And of course, maybe one aspect of the mind or the ego says, well, you're trying to get around the point, or you're trying to not give a real answer. But actually, a real answer can be our question, our heart that has a question in it, and that we want to listen and we want to explore. So being able to offer that to people is really beautiful. To say I don't really understand what's going on, and to do that from a place of solidity, and to do that from a place of clarity and peace. Wow, how valuable that is. So that those people who also don't know what's going on, but are anxious and confused and working themselves up, can realize that, oh, I cannot know what's going on and be okay with that. And that me not knowing what's going on doesn't mean that I'm in danger, or that other people are in danger, or that I'm right or wrong, or that someone else is right and wrong. So we kind of, we give that blessing, we give that freedom from that whole narrative, right? That this is right or wrong, or this is good or evil, because there's a little bit of good in every wrong, and there's a little bit of wrong in every good. They're the two sides of the way. They're the sides of each other. And being free from both of them, we can't say it's the ultimate good, or it's the ultimate bad, because it's freedom from duality. And we can offer people our freedom from duality with our mindful breathing, with our compassionate listening, with when someone kind of tries to trap us in a question, we say, I don't really understand what you're saying. And what a gift that is to really say that and mean it. Many people aren't ready to step into that way, but we can educate them that, like, my experience is what I'm working with, and and that's what I can work with right now. And I would like to understand what you're saying, but I can't So we can talk about it more, or I can go back to just listening to you so that you can share. And that's a good foundation to have. Now when we get into more complex situations, there are more variables that we need to account for. More ways of dealing with things and managing things that are very important to think deeply about. But to have that as a starting point, like rather than saying, "Oh yeah, this is right," or "This person's like that," or "This is wrong," just being able to hold that not knowing and use that as a place to bless people, really, to help people, to let them know that not knowing is a safe place to be, and that not knowing is ripe for kindfulness. Is that okay, Ariana? Any follow-up for that?
I think so. Yes. Thank you.
Does that mean that we should not strive to know then? Or should we continue to strive to know
Know about what?
what we can?
What can you know about right now? So we already have a lot of habit energy about chasing after things, and really we tend to be very human. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm lucky if I can, rather than falling into my, oh, I'm tired and my life isn't perfect and I'm not perfect, why can't things just be perfect? I'm lucky if I can strive for some coffee, so I can get myself started and get myself moving, or strive to go for a walk. But I don't know how much extra striving I need to bring into my life for me, outside of being at peace and forgiving myself. I'm rather than striving to know anything in particular, I would say strive to be generous. Strive to be patient with yourself. Strive to forgive yourself. Strive to be gentle. Strive to just enjoy your life in a very simple and almost childish way, Because it takes, for those bubbling streams, for those mountains covered in greenery, for like doing intensive meditation retreats and stuff, we can't force that, It's something that it happens according to cause and conditions, and we'll be in a much better position to go into that, let's say, temporary striving for the end of striving, to come about naturally. It's better to prepare ourselves by just like connecting with simplicity in whatever we do. If you're watching a YouTube video, or you watch a TikTok, or you watch a movie, or you're eating, or you're having tea, you're having a cappuccino, you're talking with some people, you're having a good time because you're a good person and they're also being kind. We don't need to bring out all these extra layers and levels of like, I'm here to teach people, or I'm trying to know about this, because it can make things very stressful. And I tend to have, any amount of stress that I have is already enough. I don't need any more stress. If there's any stress there, I certainly don't need any more. So, yeah, be careful about that striving to know, or that striving to understand, and rather maybe strive to untangle yourself from any striving at all. And that's a very natural, peaceful, equanimous state where we can go for a walk and we can cook without listening to music or without watching something, just because we're not striving, right? To know, to get, to experience, to achieve. We can just experience it, and it turns out that actually it's quite fine and it's quite lovely just to do whatever it is that we're doing without adding anything extra. right? And then there's that boogeyman that's always coming up about criticism and controlling and judging, like, why am I, I need to study 1,000 hours a day, I need to meditate 1,000 hours a day, or anything that you're doing that you could somehow do it better, right? Or that it should be better for, why can't it just be the way that it is, and to enjoy that, and even enjoy your I don't want to say debauchery, but your lack of complete skillfulness, you just even enjoy that, and then you experience the difficulties that go along with that, and even enjoy that, and that you aren't the ideal person that you want to be, and even enjoy that. And it's not indulging in that, but it's like being willing to be okay with the way that things are right now. And that there is a sense in that of non-striving. And I think that situations and habit energies that waste energy or aren't really aligned with our heart, it will take time, but they will kind of release themselves when we stop emphasizing to strive. And if you do strive, I think keep it simple. Strive concerned with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Can strive to, walk the path, sila, samadhi, panya, listen to Dhamma talks, or, consider precepts more closely, be more mindful, do more actions of generosity. But if you make that into a stressful thing, you won't be able to sustain it. So it's more just like bringing it into your heart and remembering rather than striving.
Good afternoon, Bhante. I understand what you're saying, but some people don't think that way. Especially a visionary type person, or just want to know, to have an understanding. What is wisdom? Is wisdom, you seek wisdom, you gain enlightenment once you find what you, or curious what you were seeking for, to know. I can't see, speaking for myself, only when I'm doing self-care is to keep my mind idle. But me, I have a joy. I find joy in being curious. If I want to know about a building and how did they do this or that, I seek to know. It's not stressful to me. Maybe later, because I seek to know, I may want to do something to my house. At least I know. I think when a person just stay empty and idle, that's laziness. God put us here to um, cultivate the soul, to make life better for mankind. If we just sit there and do nothing, nothing will happen. What's your take on that?
Well, I can tell you very authoritatively. That there's certainly nothing more difficult than sitting there and doing nothing, right? I mean, just to be in a state of awareness and not doing anything, not making mental, physical, or verbal actions is not. In some ways, it's very easy, and we all are doing it all the time already. But in a more practical sense, it's the most difficult thing you can possibly do in the world. In terms of knowing about things, for me, that's more about being involved and direct experiencing and engaging with what you're interested in naturally. But if there's like something that's held in front of you And maybe it's your idea of enlightenment, maybe it's your idea of your own higher self or who you should be or who you're supposed to be. And then you're striving after that, you're chasing after that. I don't recommend that people do that. I think that it's a lot more beneficial if they learn how to know the self that they already are. And that's by not distracting themselves or striving to distract themselves, but by being more present with what they're experiencing right now. You know, so I've definitely found in my own life, maybe I'm watching something or I'm listening to something, and there's this extra energy, like, what am I going to watch next? What am I going to listen to next? How am I going to, I'm kind of striving to get away from myself somehow. And it takes a lot of love and a lot of patience and a lot of good conditions to find myself in a place and in a position where I'm not striving to get away from myself. I'm not trying to understand anything outside of myself, but I'm just being. I'm just experiencing. And this is like a refuge for me. And I think that if people do give themselves a break from this idea of striving, and rather open themselves up more to just like experiencing their life, especially in this context, as a meditation group, that those spaces will open up more. Of course, it's not going to be complete, and even if we did, I can tell you for sure, if everyone here just got like a fire in their gut and said, we need to revolutionize our mind and follow all the precepts and do all the good deeds and do, all the actions of generosity and just go, go, go. We're not going to sleep. We're practicing mindfulness and detachment and doing good deeds without limit. I tell you, even my teacher, even Sayadaw, he told me one time that he can do like that for maybe a week or something like 2 weeks with very little sleep, and just constant activity, constantly working with people. And then he gets sick and he needs to take a rest, for a couple days. He needs to lay down and recuperate. So we will all have to deal with that, so it's not to not try to take care and to develop your spiritual life and to understand things experientially, to know about things, but it's to stop adding on this extra layer of you must or you need to or you have to, or what you already have and who you already are is somehow not worthy or not enough. And really for me, I don't know where else I am. I don't, I'm not sure where else I've ever been. Some things come to mind for certain, but that it's like a phantom. It's like a cloud. I don't know where I'm going to be tomorrow. I don't. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that I wake up and I say, oh my gosh, I'm enlightened. I mean, I sure hope that happens, but I also don't hope that I wake up tomorrow and feel not so great. But either one of those, I suppose, are possible, but they're also like ghosts. They're like phantoms. They're like clouds. I can't grasp onto that. I don't know. And so being in that place of not knowing, I feel like I'm coming into a more realistic relationship with my life. And I feel like that is where I can develop myself sustainably and consistently.
For me, that to enjoy is to have that inner peace. That inner peace, you don't worry. Life take care of itself.
And also
But
this, go ahead.
no, I would just, I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Well, also this sense that like it's okay to be at peace now.
It is. I'm not talking about worldly peace. Just having to understand things just is and be okay with it And through my meditation, I combine my prayer life, and that internal peace is so beautiful. It's nothing like it. But when you live that temporary peace that the world give you, I don't like that because it's not real. When you can go through trials and tribulation, you have that internal peace. You can go through the storm. And in that storm, you gain wisdom and understanding and love.
Well, from a Buddhist sense, the forms or what's real is originating from the unreal. So real and unreal are inter-are. You know, from the Buddhist sense, the coming about of experiences, whether it's a worldly peace or a spiritual peace, are temporary already. And so not to fixate on the reality of that. Now, definitely there's cause and effect. There's always cause and effect in this situation. So having a lot of pleasurable experiences and relying on that for how to live your life is probably not going to work out very well, you know, and relying on the peace of forgiveness, the peace of joy, the peace of relationship with everything immediately now is probably going to help more. But both of these experiences, and especially the someone who is experiencing these, is an expression of emptiness, arises from emptiness, arises from everything, and returns to everything instantaneously. So not to fixate on real or unreal, and not to fixate on better or worse, or wrong or right, but to know how to use it without attachment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank
Okay.
you, Bhante.
Oh, you're welcome. Uh, anyone else like to share something or ask a question?
Um, Hold on. It might be different types of loud here, but I always like to find parallels between I guess Zen and just other things that are not supposed to be Zen. Like for instance, I used to be in the military for quite some time, and I used to be a competitive marksman. And if you hold out your hands to try to hold still right now, you actually shake quite a bit, and it's really hard to hold still. So I used to ask myself, how do I get my hands to stop shaking? How do I hold still enough to be able to stay on target? And the ironic thing was actually not trying to hold still. Instead, taking a deep breath. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kit. That, yeah, a lot of times our trying to do something makes it more difficult to do that thing, right? It's like the idea of waking up is so heavy, so strong, that actually waking up and getting up and going for a walk or having some tea is difficult unnecessarily. So decoupling from that difficulty and decoupling from the, just trying to do this one thing and then doing it and trying it, and you have an experience, you learn from it immediately. We're constantly learning, we're constantly changing. So I don't know what it is in culture that tells us that that's not so fluid or so like real and dynamic, But it really is. We're always changing and learning, especially if we're well-minded. You know, it's like we're constantly trying things, experiencing things, getting feedback, and learning from that moment by moment by moment already, even without the extra effort. Maybe rather than like trying or effort, it's more a matter of sincerity in the practice. Okay, so we're at the 1 hour mark. So maybe we see if we have any other person who wants to share something important, has something to share, or an important question, interesting question. Go ahead, Marcy. What would you like to share?
Just an experience that I went through recently when visiting my college.
Oh, dear Marcy, there's some connection issue here. We cannot hear. Yeah, there should be a button you can press that opens the mic again. Maybe you can try to leave. There you go.
It's working now.
Yeah.
So it was an experience I had recently when visiting my college town with a group of people that I hung out with when I did go to college. And it was basically I was trying to reconcile with someone who I had had an adverse experience with, and I like later realized after going through the apologetic and like trying to repair that bridge, basically that I felt a certain way about a group of people that this person individually belonged to. And it wasn't necessarily that person that I needed to apologize to. It was me changing my own stance on how I viewed that group of people as a whole. And I attempted to reconcile with an individual when my issue nor my negative feelings surrounding that wasn't going to ever be amicablated by apologizing to a singular human being. And I later found out that this person has not changed since that point. So apologizing to a person who has not changed their ways is just not necessarily something that culminated in what I expected, which was a repaired bridge. So sometimes when you learn something and you gain wisdom, you don't have to go about backtracking to fix what you originally broke. Some bridges were meant to stay burned.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Marcy. It's very nice to hear from you and very insightful point, right? Sometimes we think it's about that person, and it turns out to be that just if we change our approach, we can release ourselves from that conflict or that drama, right?
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Marcy. All right. Well, we have our tradition here in our way where we finish with a sharing of the merit. So as we come together in this way, it's like really wholesome, right? It's really good. So we get a lot of benefits for ourselves when we join these practices, and it's subtle and it's for the long term. You know, it's not like you do this and then you should expect that you'll be on a hot tub in a mountain when you wake up, but there's a quality that's kind of for the long term about not that our energies are more like self-releasing naturally, so that the natural difficulties that come up, the stresses, the barriers that we encounter, somehow when we come together and practice like this, when we practice meditation, when we listen to the Dhamma, when we do good deeds, with sharing, practicing, those those negative energies that we have in ourselves, they're kind of, we it's like we are developing all these little keys to releasing ourselves from them. And things tend to go well when we're not locked in ourselves, even though we don't become perfect immediately. Okay, so before we share the merit, I just want to express my gratitude for everyone and being here. And I hope that you can enjoy, even in the midst of your, sometimes life is so difficult, right? But even in the midst of that, that you can feel this sense of peace and relief, and know that you are a good person, and know that you are on the good path, and that the person you want to be is who you already are. Okay? So I invite everyone to unmute their microphones, and we can all bring our hands together, and we'll finish with a sharing of our merits. May all the merits that we have done till now
May all the
May all
merits
the
we have
merits
done
that we
now
have done until now
be dedicated and shared out towards all beings.
be dedicated and shared out with all beings.
May all beings rejoice and share in our merits.
May all
All beings
share
rejoice and share in our merit.
May it be so.
May it be so.
May it be so.
May it be
May it be so.
May it truly be so.
May it truly be so.
And then we can enjoy all together 3 sadhus. So each time before you do the sadhu, you can take a deep breath, and then kind of trying to harmonize and express as deeply and enjoyably as we can. With our heart. This is a very much an opening heart practice when we say sadhu. And yeah, let's do it together, okay? So deep breath. And sadhu means well done, great job, may it be, let's do it again. It's kind of a recognition of the goodness of this way, this way of mind and practice, and then a sharing of that out, and a giving ourselves a pat on the back as well. So you can put all that into the sadhu. All right, here we go. Deep breath. Deep bow. Thank you, dear friends. Be well, and see you tomorrow at the same time.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Oh, okay.
Peace.
And yeah, thank you everyone for being here on Facebook, on TikTok, on YouTube, wherever you come from. Please do help us to share our works and to invite more people to join by leaving a like on our YouTube video, and it helps the algorithm and all this kind of recommend it and share it out to more people so that they can get benefit. Okay? Thank you.